everybody, and welcome back to BK's Bullets. We're talking Marvel San Diego Comic-Con 2022 announcements. Hey everybody, and welcome back to BK's Bullets. As always, I'm your host, Brent, and today we're going to go over all the stuff Marvel announced today at San Diego Comic-Con 2022. I got my special Marvel shirt on. It was a rip-roaring panel that nobody saw unless you were in the room. Everybody else was just glued to Twitter and the internet. So I did the same thing, basically like pretty much as it was over. It was like, putting the kids to bed, doing dishes, and then check Twitter after all that. And I was like, oh man, I totally forgot that this was going on. So boy, did we have a lot to talk about. There's going to be a lot of speculation here in this video. I feel like now, reading from only the things that I read, which wasn't much, this panel seemed to be more announcements than anything. They did bring on the cast for Guardians of the Galaxy 3, and it concluded with Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, and that trailer dropped. So we'll be talking about those things as we go through them. But I will say a lot of this here is pure speculation, and it seemed like the panel was mostly like, look over here, look over there, look over here, look over there. Announcement, 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 which is basically all anyone wants from a Marvel San Diego Comic-Con panel. There was I don't know if it was D23 or some other presentation where they laid out, we're going all the way to in Avengers Infinity War Part 1 and Part 2 years ago. And that was like a legendary event. And it seems like this Comic-Con, this panel here tonight is that next legendary event that people have been wanting from Marvel for the longest time. So let's go through what we have going on. Through the end of the year, we have She-Hulk, Attorney at Law on Disney+, and that is kind of, they said it was closing out the end of Phase 4. Now, Marvel did drop the She-Hulk trailer today, and I did watch it. I thought it was fun, and I gotta say, I think there's something to be said about how you're watching these trailers and what platform you're watching it on. I was watching the Sandman trailer that dropped also today, and that thing was awash in gray tones and banding and just things going in and out, large chunks of pixels that were kind of dead. Not on my television, but in the image, because the YouTube compression algorithm just killed those pixels for a long, long time and kind of made it look like a mess. Really, really kind of terrible visually. Now, that Sandman trailer was very interesting. I'm interested to watch it again and watch the show. It comes out at the end of next week, for crying out loud. But going back to She-Hulk, there was a previous discussion on the first trailer that the CGI looked bad, etc., etc. I don't think that the CGI looks bad. I think it's the compression on YouTube, because it's making everything look a little flat and not that great. So I don't think that's going to be the case when you actually watch it on Disney+. Everything I've watched on Disney+ has looked pretty good so far, and seeing as how She-Hulk seems to take place in daylight a whole lot and be really well lit, it seems like we will not have that problem. From my experience and from what I've read online, the compression, the banding, all this other stuff, the big black spots, like if you watched The Long Night, the Game of Thrones episode with the big battle on streaming on HBO Go years ago, like I did, you got a terrible experience because they didn't shoot those things for streaming. So anytime they take into account that they are shooting it for streaming or something like that, where bandwidth is an issue or a bunch of people are going to watch it at once, things do better. So, everything's well lit or things are moving a lot, and then seeing the compression algorithms, like, they don't cancel out those pixels or anything like that. So you're always getting a crisp, clear image on these things. So to me, She-Hulk looked like a lot of fun. There was a little Daredevil tease at the end. I've seen other people say that he had the red and yellow costume on, which I didn't quite follow. I think I saw like a screenshot of one of the frames from his back that were saying it was yellow. It could also be a lighting trick. I don't know, but that's interesting to see. And we'll get to Daredevil later as we talk more about him. So the next thing in the timeline, which is this fall, is Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. Now, this is a long-awaited sequel from the billion-dollar movie that could. Black Panther came out years ago. Ryan Coogler directing it, Chadwick Boseman starring as T'Challa. Huge film, wonderful film, great film. I don't know that you could watch that film and call it bad. Seriously. There's something to be said about the impact of that film on, people of color, black children, etc., etc. Seeing a legendary hero portrayed by a great actor doing fantastic things up on the big screen and having it be widely regarded as one of the best films of that year or best superhero films, of the decade, got to be a huge impact there. So to lose Chadwick Boseman to cancer a few years later, maybe it was last year, 2021, 2020, it was during the pandemic, it was awful. Damn, that fucking hurt. And just being a fan and not having all those other factors layered on top, it still hurt as a fan because I really liked him in that role as that character. I really, really loved Black Panther, that film. So it hurt me. I can't imagine other people who, have more of that impact involved with it, their loss and feeling that as well. The loss of a legend. So we're kind of taking that angle and bringing it into the movie from that trailer, from the looks of it. T'Challa was a king. He was a legend himself in the storyline. So we are bringing him in to raise him to that level so that we can mourn not just T'Challa, really mourn Chadwick Boseman, this loss of this great talent, in the film as a person and as a character. Now, some may say you should have recast Black Panther. I certainly hear those sentiments. I kind of do agree with that a little bit myself. Other people would say, no, absolutely not. This was iconic. And to those people, I also say, I hear you. I understand what you're saying because of the impact, because of all those other factors and stuff. But we shall see. Now, from the trailer, it looks like Chadwick Boseman and Marvel and the team of actors have all just, man, this must have been an emotionally hard set to be on, because it looks like they've poured everything into this. Angela Bassett's speech in the middle of this trailer about being, leader of the most powerful nation in the world due to vibranium and having lost her entire family. Tragic, heartbreaking. You could feel the emotion pouring through that speech, even though most of it was just like audio. This is the actress taking her real life, putting it into the character, and it was coming out in her character, and you could just hear that just from the audio. It was an incredible, incredible performance. So that sort of emotion, that impact, makes me more excited to see this film. It's not grief watching, I'm not looking to revel in people's grief. I don't want to do that. I just think it's going to be emotional to watch these characters go through this, because the real emotion, the real pain. And if you feel that the way that I feel it, just on the tiniest level, or you feel it the way other people feel it, with all those factors of, being an icon, being black, being underrepresented, all that stuff. If you feel all those things, this is going to be even more emotional for you for that reason. And if they can deliver on that and deliver a heartfelt story that does justice to the character, to the icon, to the legend, to the actor, they'll have succeeded. If they can deliver an entertaining movie on top of that, they'll have succeeded. If they can introduce a new Black Panther that fans accept, they'll have succeeded. If they introduce Namor, who this looks like a completely different take on Namor, and I am all in. Namor is in Marvel Comics anyway, not the MCU per se, he's the first mutant. He's the leader of Atlantis, the king of Atlantis. He wears a Speedo. He's got elven ears, slicked back hair, and he's got wings on his feet. And he can breathe underwater, and he flies when he flaps his tiny wings on his ankles. It's kind of silly, but it's born out of the 40s, right? It's one of Marvel's oldest characters. So to take that character and evolve him into something inspired by the Aztecs or the Mayans and that sort of Central American ancient culture, and we're going to make that Atlantis, that seems really, really fucking cool, because you're taking this iconography that's very familiar with people in a certain region of the world and bringing it to the forefront and making it super cool. The same way, I think this is a formula a little bit, the same way they did in Black Panther 1, where you took that iconography, those designs, the fabrics and the colors and all that stuff from Africa and brought that into the film and brought it to the forefront with that film. So we're kind of doing the same thing. So if there's a Black Panther film that can do this for a different culture every single time, I think that's a cool take to center a film around every time. If you can't do that, that's also fine. I'm not saying you should, but I think if they use this as an opportunity to do that every time, that's really, really fucking cool. So I'm excited to see more of Atlantis, more Namor with this Aztec Mayan twist that they're putting on it. Seems really, really fun. Granted, we didn't see anybody speak, although it was like a teaser trailer per se, but this thing comes out in November, so we're just now starting the marketing. This is the first we've seen of anything. I mean, they were doing announcements from like reading Twitter saying like announcing so-and-so is Ironheart, is Namor, and I feel like the guy playing Namor was already announced or at least semi-confirmed in the trades from like Deadline or Hollywood Reporter. Ironheart, Riri Williams, her character I think was, I don't know if we knew she was going to be in this film, but you can see her creating some armor in this film. Like there's literally a recreation of the shot of Tony Stark doing the hammer in the first Iron Man and her doing the same thing in this film. So if this sets her up as the next Tony Stark as a student of Shuri, that could be very interesting. Speculation on who this Black Panther is, I think it's got to be Shuri, right? I mean, I guess if you're being slavishly loyal to the comics, then it should be Shuri. However, they set up this wonderful battle in the last film of who gets to be Black Panther. So if you don't have M'Baku be Black Panther or some sort of battle for this thing, I think you're veering away from the storytelling. But all the iconography in this trailer just seems to me like it should be Shuri, although I wonder if it's going to remain a mystery throughout the film. So, who knows? So with that, at the end of Black Panther, we're out of Phase 4. Phase 4 is over, and now we were told, apparently we're moving into Phase 5. So what follows is just a litany of announcements, and there were trailers shown. I think there was a teaser for Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. Guardians of the Galaxy had a sizzle reel or something up there. And I think that was the last thing that was shown in terms of, new things and things like that. So a lot of this we kind of already knew about because it was announced at D23, I think last year, or Disney Investor Day, something like that. So Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania comes out February 13th, 2023, followed by Secret Invasion on Disney+, and that stars Nick Fury fighting the Skrulls. Then you have next summer Guardians 3 kicking off the summer, May 6th, 2023. Then in that summer, our Disney Plus shows are Echo, which is a series I think no one asked for coming out of Hawkeye, but we're getting it anyway. Now, if this is setting up what's to come with Daredevil and Charlie Cox, maybe it could be interesting. But just Echo by herself didn't grab me as a character in Hawkeye, and it's not somebody that I was like, as a character or an actress, that I was like, ooh, I want to see more of that person. In the same way that I'm watching Miss Marvel going, give me more Iman Vellani, give me more Kamala Khan. I want to see this character more in the Marvel Universe. They're fantastic. Then you have Loki Season 2 coming out next summer. So we will see if that deals more with Kang. They really did set up Kang the Conqueror at the end of that show, and he is the villain of Quantumania, and apparently they showed him, he looks menacing or something like that, is something I saw on Twitter. I didn't see any screen grabs from any of this stuff, so maybe that footage will leak later on in the day and you can grab it or watch it, I don't know. Or by the time you watch it, it's all been taken down after it was leaked anyway. Usually Marvel's pretty good about showing stuff during their panels and saying this is only for Comic-Con, and they'll go after and take down anything that actually does leak. Because they only want to release the stuff that they've already released on the Marvel YouTube channel, the She-Hulk trailer and the Black Panther trailer and stuff like that. Coming out after that, we have The Marvels, which is featuring, this is basically Captain Marvel 2, but it's also featuring Miss Marvel, who we just finished watching her show, and then also featuring Monica Rambeau, whom we met in the WandaVision show. This is the girl that walked through the void of Wanda's force field and got some powers. She's been called Captain Marvel in other places in the comics. She usually has a white costume. She's also been called I think Spectrum or Photon. Anyway, that's the Marvels. That's coming out in July 28th, 2023, followed by Blade. Now, this is Mahershala Ali playing the character. This is all something we knew, I think pre-pandemic, we knew about Blade, about Mahershala Ali. Like, the logo is the same. I think the last San Diego panel I think we saw was Mahershala being announced at the end. And then putting a hat on him with the logo and stuff like that. So, and then following that, next fall, we have Ironheart 2023. Then following Ironheart, we knew this from Investor Day, Agatha. Now, it was called House of Harkness, I believe, or something like that. But now it is being called Agatha Coven of Chaos, which is kind of a cool name. So I don't know if Scarlet Witch will be in here or if it'll just be Agatha Harkness. But either way, I'm sold because she was one of the best parts of WandaVision. And now come the new announcements. So everything before then we'd kind of already known. And now we start coming to the fun stuff that people are flipping out about online. First up, Daredevil, Born Again. Now, this is a big deal because it's called Born Again. And if you haven't read the comics, and I haven't even read the storyline yet, Born Again is a legendary story by Frank Miller, David Mazzucchelli, who also teamed up and did Batman Year One. I think they did that after Born Again. I don't know. I was alive, maybe, but I haven't read all this stuff and don't know the timeline of it. So anyway, it's a legendary Daredevil story where Matt goes up against his Catholicism and does battle with the Kingpin, and I think the Kingpin finds out his identity, things like that. Anyway, that's coming to Disney Plus. They announced that this was an 18-episode series. 18 episodes. If every Disney Plus show is only 6 episodes, except for these animated ones, this one being 18 episodes is a huge deal. Huge. So what that tells me is that they are going to take their time and for good or bad, we will see when it comes out at the end of next year. Oh no, 2024, almost 2 years away. We will see if this is worth it. We'll review it here on the channel, I'm sure, if we're still going. But man, they're either got a really good story to tell or they're gonna drag out the shit out of it. But if it's 18 episodes, like even the Netflix shows only were 10 episodes long. Or 8. I think no, they were 12 or 13. But so, anyway, this is of significant length compared to any sort of like streaming show online. 18 episodes is typically like a network show. Closer to that, it's usually like 22, 23. Your Chicago PDs, Law & Order SVUs, that kind of thing. So for this to be a Disney Plus show, 18 episodes, Charlie Cox coming back, Wilson Fisk coming back, being played by Vincent D'Onofrio. He's returning, and I think they're both in the Echo show as well. Is kind of a huge deal. So we'll see if it's how much they take from the Netflix stuff. Honestly, and I think that's also why the title is a big deal. Born Again. So it's either a rebirth, so to speak, from the Netflix show into this one. Or they're gonna rebuild it from scratch and relive his origin or something like that in the Disney version rather than the Netflix one. We will see. But man, those first 2 seasons of Daredevil, even I like season 3 as well, on Netflix. They're now on Disney Plus, but they will always be known as the Netflix shows to those of us who watched them for the first time on Netflix. Then you had announced Cap 4. So this is Captain America New World Order, starring our buddy Sam Wilson. Where are you, Sam? He's our new Captain America now that Steve Rogers has retired. I unboxed this guy the other day and put up a video. You can go check him out. But yeah, cut the check. Sam Wilson's your fucking Captain America. Deal with it. It's the New World Order, baby. Excited about that. And then the last thing of Phase 5 was the Thunderbolts film. This is coming out July 26, 2024. Cap comes out May 3rd. So this is the summer of 2024. Thunderbolts we've been building to for a while at the end of Falcon and Winter Soldier. You had, what was his name? the newer Captain America being recruited in there. You had at the end of Hawkeye, Yelena Belova being recruited into Thunderbolts. At the end of Black Widow being recruited. So you have this character who I guess is still going to go around and recruit people for this team. And Thunderbolts in the Marvel Universe has typically been a group of villains or anti-heroes doing things for the government. So think of it as like the Suicide Squad, I guess, is an easy comparison to make. Just of characters that you know even less. So Thunderbolts ends Phase 5, and then we got to the crazy shit. They announced Phase 6 begins after Thunderbolts, and Phase 6 kicks off with, Fantastic Four, basically. And then they had a huge gap, right? A huge gap in their timeline. Fantastic Four comes out November 9th, 2024. And then they had a huge gap in this picture. And I'm showing it to you now, hopefully, on the video. And then they announced 2 Avengers films. 2, folks. Fucking 2. May 2nd, 2025. Avengers, The Kang Dynasty. So you have Kang, who we met at the end of Loki Season 1. We're going to see him again next spring in Quantum Mania with Ant-Man and the Wasp. And he is going to be, I guess, building as our big villain into Avengers, The Kang Dynasty. Later that year, not a year away, later that year, at least for now, barring any other pandemic that kicks these movies out 2 more years. So I cannot imagine that this is actually like, we're living in this world. Not that we get 2 Avengers films in a year, but just that, holy shit, Marvel only had to delay Shang-Chi and Black Widow. Imagine if this pandemic had happened like a year or 2 earlier and we were waiting in between Infinity War and they kept kicking back Endgame because of this bullshit. Anyway, so then the same year, November 7th, 2025. You went from May 2nd kicking off the summer into November in the same year, you get Avengers Secret Wars. Now, the logo treatment on Secret Wars is black and white. I don't know if that means anything. All I have to say is, if you read the Secret Wars book from Jonathan Hickman, there's a lot of play on white in terms of the color, right? The endless void and all that is white, 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 white. The blank page of creation, so to speak, is white. Also, in the original Secret Wars, which I've actually never read, but it's I think it came out right before I was born or something like that, so it's 36 years old by now. Drawn by Mike Zeck. It featured a character called the Beyonder, who had a perm, but also wore white. So if we're going to get the Secret Wars that we had in the comics recently, 10 years ago, or 36 years ago, they're both playing on the white color scheme. Now, I feel like this is going to lean a little bit more into the Jonathan Hickman Secret Wars that he wrote, because after they announced these 2 Avengers films, mind you, this has been 3 phases without a single Avengers film so far. 4, 5, and we're getting them at the end of 6. So our last Avengers film was, Infinity War and Endgame, and then 3 phases with 0 Avengers films, and now it's Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars. They announced that basically this next saga, the first saga 1 through 3 was the Infinity Saga, because we were building up to Infinity War with the Infinity Gems and all that, and Thanos, and now we are in the middle, at the end of the first act, the first arc of the Multiverse Saga is basically the next big thing. So that's what we're building towards. So that tells me that we're probably building towards Secret Wars, where we're talking about incursions and worlds colliding and killing each other and taking over things in different multiverses and things like that. So there's a lot of gaps in this schedule. Also, there's fall, 2 falls, 2 winters, 2 springs. So that's a bunch of Disney Plus shows, plus a bunch of movies that can come in between here. No mention of the X-Men at all. We're still in Fantastic Four world. So Maybe the X-Men come in during Phase 6. Maybe. But I think maybe it's going to be Phase 7. If I was a betting man, I would say this is probably Phase 7 that the X-Men come in. Because you've really got to let the X-Men die before you bring them in. I truly believe that. You're running into some of this stuff with Henry Cavill, and this probably could be another video, but we'll throw it in here anyway. With Henry Cavill and the Snyder Cut and all this other nonsense with DC, they're trying to let the Snyderverse die, and these fans keep trying to bring it back up as if it's going to happen again. And as long as Hugh Jackman is still in fighting shape, still fairly young looking, people are going to want him to be Wolverine. As long as Patrick Stewart, God bless him, is still alive, people are going to want him to be Professor X, right? And we got a little bit of that in the Multiverse of Madness. We got him in the yellow chair with the music, all that stuff, and that was cool as hell to see him there doing that. But, you know, is he going to be alive in 2027? I hope so. Is he going to be acting? I hope he retires. He's like, what? William Shatner, for crying out loud, is 91. Certainly, Patrick Stewart's not that far behind him. I think they're only maybe 10 years apart or something like that. But the man's in his 80s or entering his 80s. Let the man rest, you know, for crying out loud. Same thing with Ian McKellen. You know, I feel like you could say the same thing. Oh, I don't want any Magneto except Ian McKellen. Ian McKellen's getting up there in age, guys. These were older actors in 2001, 2002, and to expect them to stay old or stay young, you know, 25 years on into 2027 is exclusively dumb if you think that that's going to happen. So I really do think maybe the next saga will be the Mutant Saga, and we get to introduce the Merry Marvel Mutants. Honestly, I would be fine if they pushed it out that long, because everybody's seen those movies. We've had those movies. We've had those films. They're still there. They're on Disney Plus. You can go watch them. But to introduce new characters, I mean, yeah, you want to do the Fantastic Four right, even though I did like those Tim Story movies from the 2000s. Okay, fine. You want to do those guys right. You want to bring in Iron Man. You want to introduce a new Captain America. You want to introduce Miss Marvel, Captain Marvel, a new Black Panther, all these new characters. Then you need to give them the space to room to create fans and create a fan base before you bring in the X-Men, who are going to stomp anything that comes before that. I mean, you think Spider-Man's popular? Wait until we get an MCU Wolverine. Then Spider-Man popularity is going to die down real fast. So honestly, I think that's probably what it is. They're trying to let the memory of these X-Men films die. Deadpool 3 might come in here. You know, they didn't announce that or anything, but they did put Deadpool 1 and 2 on Disney Plus all of a sudden. Use your parental controls if you got them. But I could see the X-Men entering in Phase 7, honestly. Kevin Feige did say when they did get the rights back, when we were going to see him, and he was like, it's going to be a while. It's going to be a while. And obviously, I think that's still the case. So there you have it. Probably like 25 long minutes of me rambling about the Marvel announcements from San Diego Comic-Con. Some mindless speculation for you, and a summary of the announcements. So there you go. Hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know down below if you did. What are you most excited about from these next two phases? I'm looking forward to Kang Dynasty, honestly. Secret Wars, I know what it is. Kang Dynasty, I have no idea. And I really liked Jonathan Majors as that character at the end of Loki season 1. And he wasn't Kang per se, but man, I'm interested to see what he can do, because I loved him in Lovecraft Country. I loved him in that last episode. So I'm excited for that performance. I'm also excited for Namor and Wakanda Forever coming this fall. So let me know down below what you guys are most excited for, and we will see you guys next time here in the Funny Pages.